welcome to the first episode of Filling In. I'm Phil, your host, and well, we're just going to be talking about movies and comics today, since that's what the show is. It's sort of a talk show, not exactly a review show, just basically a talk show. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the biggest comic book movies that's come out this year, X-Men: Days of Future Past. When I first heard about this movie, I was really excited, and I'm a huge X-Men fan. Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching the animated series in the '90s, and I love the movies. Well, I like the first one, the second one, the third one, iffy feelings towards. X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men First Class I really liked. The Wolverine, that was excellent, a major step up from X-Men Origins Wolverine. This one, Days of Future Past, probably, and I think it's probably like the best X-Men movie that's been made so far, and probably one of the best comic book movies ever in recent years. And that's saying a lot in comparison to a lot of the big comic book movies that have come out lately. So, I guess what makes this thing so great is a lot of factors. I mean, for me, it was like, number one, the return of Bryan Singer as director. Number two, the cast of the movie. Number three, the story. And number four, what this could probably do for the X-Men movies in general. When I first heard that Bryan Singer was returning to direct and not Matthew Vaughn, I thought, okay, I mean, it's been a long while since he's done an X-Men movie. The last one he directed was X2, and he did produce and co-write X-Men First Class, which was really good. To have him come back for Days of Future Past, I mean, I got no problem with the X-Men movies past X2. I mean, X-Men Last Stand, I mean, it was kind of trying to do two different things at once. It was trying to be an X-Men movie, and at the same time, it was trying to be a big ensemble, non-stop action-filled comic book movie, which isn't bad. It just seemed a little off in comparison to the first two movies. X-Men Origins Wolverine, it was basically like just another X-Men movie, just with Wolverine being centered on more than ever. And yes, there's the running gag that Wolverine has dominated the X-Men movies, well, with the exception of First Class, but that's beside the point. X-Men Origins Wolverine was just basically trying to cram in every single Wolverine origin story ever made and put it all into one movie in a 2-hour, maybe 2-hour, 15-minute narrative, and it just didn't seem right. It felt too rushed. X-Men First Class, I liked it because, well, it was, I mean, it's sort of paying homage to like spy thrillers from the '60s, like James Bond movies, and it was trying to be, you know, fun, good popcorn action, but yet also staying true to what makes the X-Men the X-Men. The Wolverine, I thought it was a movie that took its time, a lot more so than Origins. Even though it kind of changed some things, and come on, what adaptation doesn't? It ultimately proved to be pretty good. Like I said, a major step from X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, this one, Days of Future Past, with Singer returning, it's like back to how the X-Men movies started out with these dark, hardcore sci-fi vibes going into it. I mean, you got the costuming, the atmosphere, the characters, the story, everything. I mean, sure, there's a lot of big special effects in there, but it's like, because of how the movies became so successful, they were able to take more liberties with stuff. Man, with this movie, and with Bryan Singer returning to direct, it's like you got the best of everything in here. So it just felt right, and it was so great seeing this happen with him returning to direct. And so, okay, the next thing that made this movie great for me? The cast. It's a combination of the cast of First Class and the cast of the original trilogy. And I thought it was, and also some new characters. It was great seeing all of them back. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Halle Berry as Storm, Ellen Page as Kitty Pryde, Shawn Ashmore as Iceman, and of course Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I mean, the guy, he's played Wolverine in all of the X-Men movies today. You know, he practically is Wolverine. Okay? He practically is Wolverine. He manages to get the character right, and he does so well with it, no matter who's directing him, no matter how his character is written, he just gets it right so well. And then you got the new characters, and like Bolivar Trask, played by Peter Dinklage, and I thought he was fantastic. I mean, he pretty much earned this movie. I mean, his work on Game of Thrones and everything else, he's such a great actor. I loved it. I love seeing. I mean, okay, he's the guy that creates the Sentinels, and he thinks that mutants are dangerous and they should be maintained or taken care of. And he presents a solution. You gotta, I mean, if this kind of guy were to exist, you'd probably say, okay, he's a major jerk. He's a major jackass for doing this. But at the same time, you gotta admire his drive to get what he wants. And of course, there's the cast from First Class that came back for this movie. Nicholas Hoult as Beast, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, James McAvoy as Professor X, and of course Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. And I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I like Jennifer Lawrence's movies. I think she's an amazing actress. She deserves all the praise she's gotten over the years, and she manages. It's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say she's like the next Sigourney Weaver, able to balance action, sci-fi, horror, and everything else that's good about acting and movies in general, all in one thing. And the way she portrays Mystique in this movie. Now, Rebecca Romijn had earlier played Mystique in the previous movies, and she was sort of the silent but deadly assassin. Not talkative very much, except for in the third movie. But then once when Jennifer Lawrence took over as Mystique, she's more outspoken, she's more direct. She makes it aware of what she wants and how she goes about doing it. In First Class, she was sort of innocent, yet sort of dangerous. But in this movie, we get to see how she becomes the Mystique that we know from the comics and from the previous movies. She is doing riskier things that not only take her down a darker path, but could also spell either good things or bad things for the mutant population. And that's something that should be wary of. And it's interesting seeing these characters broken down into like just these people who are struggling to survive. And Professor X, I thought, whoa, what did they do to him? I mean, okay, it's good to see that Patrick Stewart is still like the same kind of Professor X that he was before. But then you got James McAvoy as Professor X, and he's like, we're seeing Professor X actually vulnerable. I mean, because after First Class, he had opened up the Mutant Academy, but then things had gone astray with the Vietnam War happening, and yeah, he just basically broke down. And there's this weird drug that he's able to walk again, but it takes away his telepathy. Okay, when I saw James McAvoy in the trailer, all bearded up and long-haired and everything, I thought, is this guy on drugs or something? I mean, this movie is taking place in the 70s, I mean, at least the past. But, yeah, that's apparently the drug that he's addicted to. Nicholas Hoult is more like he's like Professor X's guardian. He's like the guy that wants to get involved, but at the same time he's not sure if he should, but eventually he does. And yeah. Now some of the new characters, and there's some other characters, other returning characters like Toad, not played by Ray Park, but I can understand that since it's a young Toad. Havoc, he's only in there for about maybe 5-10 minutes, but it seems pretty good. I mean, it was good to see him again, and yeah, he's fighting in the Vietnam War and about to be taken to a genetic laboratory to get experimented on, but what can you do? But he gets rescued. And so it's a shame some of the other characters from the first classic died, like Angel. I know that's not her. I know she has a last name. I can't remember her last name. But the guy who's supposed to be Nightcrawler's dad, Azazel. He's dead too. Emma Frost, I think, and Banshee. Don't know what happened to Riptide, but who knows. Some of the new characters that were in the future timeline, like Bishop, Warpath, Sunspot, Blink. I was excited to see these characters in there, and because I like Bishop. I mean, granted, the only times I've seen him were in a few comics and some of the animated series, but looking him up on Wikipedia and other sources, I mean, I thought this was an interesting character. Here's a guy that, in a way, is more extreme than Wolverine. I mean, yeah, Wolverine is the extremist, but Bishop is like the extremist. Or the extremist. He comes from this dystopian future where mutants are being put in concentration camps or outlawed or being hunted down and killed. And he travels back in time to prevent that future from happening. But he always does extreme methods. Here in this movie, we're just seeing him as part of the resistance against the Sentinels, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. It's good to introduce these characters. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you got a movie that has so many characters, you can only do so much with them. And I guess, hey, at least they got them in now, and they also got this character Blink. She's able to do teleport, and beautiful character. I mean, yeah. I don't think she speaks much, but you can just tell that she's an amazing character, just doing what she can to help out and everything. And I heard that she's like a major fan favorite. I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about the Blink character, honestly. But seeing her in, I could see why she's such a fan favorite and wanted to be in. And yeah, it's just great seeing all these characters. Oh, and of course William Stryker. I'll get to him in a bit later on. But William Stryker, of course, is in this, and he sort of plays a major part in this movie, being like teaming up with Bolivar Trask to handle mutants and everything. But it's just great seeing all these characters in, and just yeah. Okay, so the story. The story of this movie is based on probably regarded as one of the most classic X-Men storylines, X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, granted, this collected edition only what I understand, the actual story itself took place in Uncanny X-Men issues 141 and 142. This collects a lot more issues than that because, I don't know. Good?
Hold that up so we can zoom in.
Sorry. Yeah, see? Right here. And, okay, I'm going to put this down now.
Alright.
And
good shot.
It was Ryan. One of the big things about that storyline is that it's part of Chris Claremont's run. And Chris Claremont, for me, he's like the X-Men writer. I mean, yes, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the X-Men. Other writers and creative teams have done their runs on X-Men, left their impacts. But we probably wouldn't have the X-Men movies if it weren't for Chris Claremont and the people that he worked with during his run, his long run on the X-Men. I mean, because of him, we've had classic storylines like Dark Phoenix Saga, Days of Future Past, so much more. And that this movie finally adapted this storyline. I wasn't sure how they were going to adapt it at first, because see, in the comic, well, it plays out differently. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I will say one of the main differences is that Wolverine is not the one who's sent back in time. Kitty Pryde is. Kitty Pryde is still in there, but she, in her phasing abilities, still play a factor in the time travel. But yeah, the story of the movie is that the X-Men have to. It's a battle across time. The X-Men have to prevent a certain event from happening in the past in order to prevent this dystopian future with the Sentinels and everything. Just like in the comic, only much more expanded, and it combines the cast of First Class and the original trilogy, and it manages to do this so well, and it's so so endearing to watch. It's just wow. Yeah, I mean, 10 years had passed. In the past timeline, 10 years had passed after First Class, and the Mutant Academy is in shambles, Magneto's in prison, Mystique is on her own somewhere, and in the future, Wolverine and the X-Men are fighting off Sentinels and are close to being extinct, so they have to travel back in time. So they send Wolverine back in time in order to prevent Mystique from killing Bolivar Trask, hence preventing the future with the Sentinels. And yeah, it's just I guess to say that maybe I think the story of this movie was well done. I thought it was really good, really greatly written, really directed, and it's an iconic X-Men story. It's one of Chris Claremont's, and like I said, Chris Claremont, for me, he's like the X-Men writer. And yes, there have been other great X-Men creative teams: Grant Morrison, Brian Michael Bendis, and many more. But Chris Claremont, he pretty much set the stage for how the X-Men should be handled, and it's great that it's still being done in a way to this day. So, which would I mean, this movie is like the Avengers movie for X-Men. It's like all the X-Men movie, while sort of standalone-ish, yet also being connected, continuing off of one another. This movie is like, it features the biggest ensemble for the X-Men, probably one of the biggest ensembles for a comic book movie in general. And it's just amazing how they managed to mesh all these storylines together. And how the movie ends, it's like, okay, the way the story ends, it transitions into what the next X-Men movie is going to be like, and that's where I'm moving into with this. How the X-Men film franchise could pan out, what I hope could happen. And I know it's not too good to speculate, but come on, we're all doing it one way or another. We're all speculating, we're all hoping or fearing or what's going to happen next. So, okay, of course, spoilers for those who haven't seen the movie. The end of the movie suggests that Apocalypse is gonna play a part in the next X-Men movie, or be the main villain. And from what I looked up, yeah, the next X-Men movie is gonna be called X-Men Apocalypse. Bryan Singer's returning to direct. Most of the First Class cast and the original trilogy cast are coming back, as well as some of the cast members for this movie. I think Blink is returning. Not sure how that's going to factor in there, but however they work it, I'm sure it'll be fine. We're going to be seeing Cyclops again, Jean Grey again, Storm again, younger and maybe older incarnations. I don't know. I mean, at the end of Days of Future Past, it was great seeing James Marsden back as Cyclops, because I hated the way that Cyclops got treated in the movies. His role got significantly reduced. They didn't get to really flesh out his character that much. I mean, yeah, Wolverine has pretty much dominated the X-Men movies, but come on, he's probably like the most popular X-Men. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He is the most popular X-Men. Yes, he was not originally created to be a part of the X-Men, but once when he got brought in there, both his and the X-Men's popularity, yeah, they soared high up there. So, yeah. Yeah, I hope that Bishop returns for the next one, because it would be great to see the kind of Bishop that we see in the comics and how it looked up in sources, be in the movie. And maybe some other characters too, like Nate Gray, aka X-Man, Cable, maybe Deadpool. I mean, I know that they're working on an X-Force movie, and hopefully that Deadpool movie will still happen, but yeah, and Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds deserves the deep depth, okay? He deserves it. X-Men Origins Wolverine was just a severe mistreatment of the Deadpool character. But Ryan Reynolds was still funny as Deadpool when you at least talk and see him in action. But yeah, I think that, and of course there's going to be another Wolverine movie. Hugh Jackman is coming back. This might be his final time to be Wolverine. Either that or X-Men, both X-Men Apocalypse and the third Wolverine movie, I guess. And you know what? If Hugh Jackman says, I'm done with the X-Men movies, I need a break or something, he deserves it. Because he, like I said, he practically is Wolverine. And, you know, and if the next X-Men movie happens the way that me and others hope will happen, this big ensemble, all this colorful, bright action, but also keeping maybe some of the dark, cerebral tone stuff that Bryan Singer managed to instill in these movies. Hopefully that'll still be in there too. And Apocalypse, oh man, Apocalypse, for me, Apocalypse is probably the biggest X-Men villain. Others would say Magneto or some other character, but Apocalypse is probably the biggest one for me because, see, Magneto, yeah, I mean, what makes Magneto big for others is that, yeah, he wants mutant equality or superiority over or with the human race. And in a way, he's also more personal foe for the X-Men because, in a way, they should be working together to bring about mutant equality or mutant liberation or something like that. But at the same time, he's way too dangerous, way too powerful, and way too volatile to fit in with what the X-Men want. So that's what makes him so dangerous, I guess. Apocalypse, on the other hand, he either wants mutant superiority or just total annihilation, hence his name, from what I could understand about the character. And he's like power, life and death incarnate and everything. And just whoever they cast as Apocalypse, I'm sure will do an amazing job. If it's under Bryan Singer's direction and under the same creative team that brought the first two X-Men movies and this movie made them so great. So yeah, bring it on. Bring on the Apocalypse. Yeah, I did that joke. So anyway, yeah, so that's my bit on X-Men Days of Future Past, and hope you enjoyed this first episode. See you later.